Whenever there's a catastrophic event or something very serious, something deadly, something that happens, then you always have celebrities that come out of the woodworks trying to comment on it, speak on it, whether it's real estate or healthcare or an attack on the country, whatever it is. They're always there to comment and give their 2 cents. Well, this will be no exception. If anything, it's going to be even stronger because there's no concerts happening right now. They're not touring, they're not making any money, and no one's going to a movie theater right now. So all the movies that were in production are pretty much dead. They're flat and they're losing a ton of money. So these actors are going to do whatever they can possibly do to stay relevant. Who remembers in 2001 the attack in New York City when Ja Rule was chiming in on the situation?
I remember right around September 11th, Ja Rule was on MTV. That's what they said. They said, we got Ja Rule on the phone. Let's see what Ja's thoughts are on this tragedy.
What's going on, guys? John here. So Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank is commenting on real estate, saying that everyone's going to be vacating the cities very soon because of Rona. And, you know, a lot of people aren't talking about real estate right now. People are worried about what's going on in the world. And, you know, as well they should be. Everything's kind of getting crazy and who the hell knows what's going to happen. But I'm telling you, the people that are paying attention to real estate right now, that are really keeping their eyes peeled and focusing on really like what's happening, they're going to be the people that are just going to absolutely crush it and kill it when the market bottoms out. Because those are the people that are smart and prepared. It's the other people that kind of drift on and think about all these other things, and then when the bottom happens and they say, oh no, what do I do? So if you want to learn what to do, study real estate, learn real estate. I'm putting out a ton of free content. I have a bunch of playlists at the bottom, so feel free to explore those and they'll give you a real clear idea as to, you know, what you should be doing to get started. Now anyway, back to Robert Herjavec. I'm going to look at the facts and data from what he's saying, because a lot of times people will just see an article and then just believe it's true, and that's not going to be the case today. So that being said, smash that like button, comment, drop your comments. Do you believe Herjavec? And subscribe. If you're a new subscriber, let me know. Drop it in the comment section. I'll definitely respond to you. And hit that bell. All right, guys, let's go.
There's definitely a move to the suburbs. This is one of the greatest moves to the suburbs from urban areas since, you know, the 1950s or the 60s. I recently moved out of Los Angeles into a suburban area, and I can tell you on a very personal level, my area is on fire. Everybody wants to leave large urban communities and move out into the suburbs. I think this is going to be a trend for a while, and I think urban real estate is going to hurt for a little bit.
Rent in Los Angeles has risen 65%. Think about that, 65% over the last decade, nearly doubling the national average, according to a new study. Study by Rent Care found that the average rent in LA has jumped 65% to $2,527 since 2010. After a decade of just price increases after price increases, we're now having rent reductions. We're seeing huge bonuses offered in New York and LA trying to fill these luxury apartments. I mean, we have a 3% price decrease. That doesn't sound like much, but if you do the numbers on it, most of these building owners that buy these properties are getting a 3 to 5% return based on when they purchased it a couple years ago. So now don't you just have the price decrease on rents, but you also have all these court systems closed. A lot of people come to LA and New York City in these locations. They come there for opportunity, job opportunity. They want to be around smart people. They want to be around people that are like them. And they all concentrate in one area. That's why Beverly Hills is expensive. That's why Manhattan's expensive. If you want to be something, if you want to make something of yourself, that's the place you want to strive to get to. And in New York, Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, all far above the national average. And New York, of course, San Francisco, Chicago, certain areas, Miami, a lot of expensive housing. And why is the housing so damn expensive? So another reason why people go to the city is because they want to get an education. They want to go to a nice 4-year school, they'll take a nice student loan, and they'll rent a really nice apartment right off of campus. And I'm seeing it happen right now to a friend of mine who owns a ton of property near a university in LA. Over $10 million worth of property, and his business model was to buy these properties and rent them out to college kids. Now, there is no college kids. College kids don't need to be next to campus because there's no school. There's no in-person schooling in the fall. So now that person is stuck holding the bag with all these properties where he thought he was going to be able to achieve these great rents, and it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So that speculation ended up blowing up in that person's face, and he's not the only person. This is happening near every single university across the country right now.
And I mean, there's a variety of other reasons as well, but we're going to see price reductions fall next to universities because there's really no desire to live next to a school if, there is no school.
25% of New York City renters have not made payments since March. You think about being that landlord, March, April, May, June, July, fronting the bill on all of these apartments. But yes, John, how many apartments are there in New York City? Well, there are 5.4 million apartments in just New York City alone.
You might hear that and say, oh man, this is horrible. This is so bad for real estate. What are we going to do? Tenants aren't paying rent. Rents are dropping. Is this a bad time to get into real estate? No, this is the best time to learn about real estate, learn about investing as prices slowly start to fall. Think about this. You have all these landlords and investors, developers, all these people that have been so aggressive over the last decade, buying all these properties thinking that prices are just going to keep going right to the moon. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen? They're going to get scared. They're not going to be able to hold on to these properties. They're going to have to panic sell.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right.
In the 1920s and 1930s, people either lived in the rural areas or in the city. And then after World War II, people started leaving the city in droves. So much so that the census tracked it and they found about 40% of residents lived in the suburbs and 60% lived in the city, which is a huge shock. And then the reverse happened in 1980. In the 1980s, then it switched. 60% lived in the suburbs and 40% in the city. And so how that greatly impacts us from an energy use perspective is that when you live in the city, you're more likely to use public transit and walk to places. When you live in the suburbs, you're more likely to drive, so you're using more fuel. And that's a big impact on the economy. But why do people leave? That's the question. Why do people leave the city? Well, they leave for a few reasons. One is schools. You get a better education in the suburbs historically, and there's less crime historically in the suburbs than there is in the inner city. And in addition, now what we're going to see is a big shift. It's not just crime in schools, but it's going to be affordability because the cost of living in these cities has skyrocketed to a place to where nobody can afford to live there now unless you're making $200,000, $300,000 a year.
A whopping 5 million Americans have lost their health insurance due to layoffs, and that number is only going to continue to grow. So all of these single mothers and fathers and everyone that has children, they're taking this much more seriously because they're putting their family's life in harm in the event that something happens. They want to have that insurance. So they're going to start buckling down on expenses and figuring out what they can do to get coverage.
And now what's going to happen is all these investors are realizing that politics and business and real estate are now almost one and the same. Before, it would be politics over here, real estate and business over here, and they really never touched on a small level. If you're, in a couple buildings, it never really impacted you. So you never really have that conversation about politics and real estate. It just didn't happen. But now what we're seeing many things that are crossing the paths with politics. So real estate investors, for example, are getting greatly impacted right now by a lot of the politicians in their city. The politicians in the cities are saying, hey, you don't have to pay rent. Just say that you're impacted by the Rona. And if you were or weren't, then that's up to you. You don't have to disclose that to the landlord. And that's what's happening right now. So you have millions upon millions of tenants not paying rent. You have all of these property owners that are scared, and all of these property owners not collecting rent. In addition to all of that, rent prices are decreasing, and we're going to have a flood of people leaving the city because they can't afford the city. Think about this. All these jobs that we once had in these cities with all this opportunity now are not open for business with social distancing. This is going to greatly impact property values in the short term. Long term, I think everything's going to come back. Everything will be great, and there's just going to be a ton of money to be made. But short term, you're going to see a lot of bleeding in the market, a ton of it, I believe, right after election time. If I was a betting man, I'd say right after election time, you're going to see a lot of pain in the market. So I would focus on those expensive markets. I would focus there for a variety of reasons. The first is that demand definitely will come back. The second is that you're going to be able to get a good price. At the end of the day, I'm going to agree with Robert Herjavac 110%. Because the 1950s, 1960s, people went there out of necessity. They wanted to be there. Now the difference is that people have to. Survival. They literally have to move somewhere that's a bit more affordable. Plus, they want their kids to be in a safer area, and they want to have the freedom and flexibility to have some money in their pocket. And I'm sure right now it doesn't seem like they have any, because jobs aren't open, and expenses just keep getting more and more and more unaffordable. I mean, a gallon of milk now is like $5. So imagine being a single parent or a parent where you have kids and you have to really supply food, supply daycare, because now schools aren't in session. You have all these extra expenses. It's really choking the typical middle-class family. One thing that I've learned throughout my entire real estate career is that you make the money on the buy. When you buy the deal right, I mean, everything else just seems to work out a lot easier. And we're going to be stepping into a time where you're going to be able to buy a deal for a great price. A great price. However, if you miss that opportunity, you're going to look back and really want to slap yourself. It's like 2008, 2009, when people could have bought real estate and they didn't. And they said, you know what, I'm going to wait. And they ended up buying in 2013 or 14, paying 30% or 40% more than they should have. We're going to be stepping into that in just incredible time to buy. And if you want to learn about real estate, you want to learn about passive income, you need help in any way, click the playlist at the bottom of this screen. I have a free real estate mini course. It's going to answer a ton of questions. I'm going to be posting videos there daily for the next 30 days. And if you have any questions at all, just simply drop it in the comments. I'll answer your questions. Smash that like button and drop a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified of all my new content I'm putting out. And thanks for watching.